Little Uzi Vert's 24 million diamond was ripped out of his head at Rolling Loud, which is pretty crazy when you really think about it. So, the mystery of Little Uzi Vert's $24 million forehead diamond has been solved, possibly. The 26-year-old rapper revealed his pricey bling was ripped out of his forehead when he dove into a crowd at Rolling Loud in July. Now, here's the thing, right? It does not make sense, one, to dive into a crowd. Two, it doesn't make sense to dive into a crowd when you literally got almost a $30 million diamond in your forehead, right? So I had a show at Rolling Loud and I jumped into the crowd and they kind of ripped it out. He told TMZ at the 18th anniversary of Jay-Z's 40/40 Club last month. I'm feeling good, he said. I still have the diamond, so I feel good. However, fans have been speculating since June that he had the gem removed as he was spotted without it at the time. So Little Uzi, whose real name is Seymour Beisel Woods, first started tweeting about the diamond in January, revealing he spent years saving up so he could buy it from his favorite jewelry designer, Elliot Eliante. This one stone cost so much, I've been paying for it since 2017. That was the first time I saw a real natural pink diamond, he wrote. When asked what material possession he valued most, he responded to a fan, "This diamond." He also said is almost 11 carats. He also told a fan that people will make fun of him for losing a ring more than they will for implanting it in his head. He said he has insurance on the diamond. So hopefully this is a case where he still actually has it and he doesn't end up doing something kind of like with insurance fraud later on. But I'm assuming that he still has it, even though it got ripped out of his head. But if he doesn't, that's going to get kind of interesting because the thing is, I mean, that's a lot of money, right? Like imagine if you had like $30 million on your person. Let's say that you had like one of those iced out Rolexes that some people like, right? And you could spend like 50K or 100K on there, right? Imagine if you had a house on your wrist, right? And someone stole that. There's going to be questions coming. So like, hey, what happened to your 6-figure watch, right? Now, people are going to ask like, okay, what happened to your 8-figure diamond? And if the diamond that you have, is it actually even real anymore? So apparently that's basically all the story is about. But the thing is, here's the thing that you could really learn about this, right? That I think is actually important for people to kind of understand. Look, he saved up to buy it, right? So regardless if people like the idea of spending this amount of money on something that kind of doesn't really make much sense to spend this amount of money on, if someone makes enough money and they buy these items in cash, meaning they're not going into debt to buy these items, right? And they're also protecting these super expensive items with very good insurance, technically there's not really anything wrong with that, right? Because also you got to think about it, well, Little Uzi Vert's probably making so much money per year, right? And he felt like this is something that is probably something that's worthwhile to him, right? For example, if he has no debt, he has money in investments, right? He has an emergency fund. Basically, he's continuously making as much money as he can in a very consistent route. Splurging on something crazy like this actually isn't a horrible thing to do. It's not necessarily smart to do something like this, right? But there's not really anything bad about him technically doing it. Because, I mean, if he doesn't have any debt, if he buys all his stuff in cash, right? Meaning he has basically no payments to anyone that he has to like rely on. Because imagine if you're paying payments on something that's literally in your forehead. That is crazy, right? So there's really, like, in the grand scheme of things, there's really no risk when it comes to his lifestyle or to his person in general by buying something like this. Pretty much the way to look at this is like, let's say that, you know, you make like $50,000 a year, right? But you save for like the next 3 or 4 years to buy like a $30,000 car cash, but you have no debt, no other crazy expenses or anything like that, and you live, within your means, right? There's nothing wrong. Like, technically speaking, there's nothing wrong with spending your money like that, right? Because again, one, you're not paying payments to someone, right? You're protecting it with very good insurance, right? Which a lot of people kind of undervalue. Like, for example, if you're someone who ends up like driving a lot on the highway, you need very good car insurance, right? And in the grand scheme of things, no matter what, no matter how much you drive, you need really good car insurance, right? Because there's other people involved in life that could potentially ruin your car or potentially harm you. So no matter which way you end up thinking about it, and if you stumble upon this episode, understand that if he has done this, and throughout that I'm explaining that he basically buy this, like he saved to buy this, meaning he most likely saves and buys for all the items that he ends up getting, is nothing wrong with that. Because you also got to think about it too, technically speaking, it's not going to affect him in his lifestyle. It's not going to be a detriment to his lifestyle if something were to happen to this diamond. Because he doesn't have payments on it. He could always just go and buy another diamond. He might have to save more money for the next diamond. Who knows? But again, it doesn't really change his life. And like I said, this is basically the equivalent of someone making like potentially $50,000 a year, but like saving for a few years to go buy a car like $25,000 or $30,000 in cash, right? Spending that time to save some money and buying the stuff in cash so that you're not having like payments on it, but you also cover it with very good car insurance. That's the way that I view it. I don't think he technically did anything wrong with buying a diamond this expensive. That being said, I'd rather put $24 million into, let's say, a bunch of properties and then also into the stock market, because you can make far greater returns that route. But if this is something that's truly important to him and is not negatively affecting his lifestyle, in the sense that if something were to happen to it, then his lifestyle would just be completely destroyed, or the way of life or the amount of money that he has is just going to be completely destroyed, then if that's the case, if it would actually be like something where it would be like a detriment to him, then this would be very stupid. Either way, as of right now, from what it looks like, this is just basically someone who's making a lot of money, who decided to save a lot of money for something that they viewed personally as something very important. Because everyone views something different as to what is important to them. Some people want to donate $24 million to charity, right? Some people would rather buy a $24 million mega mansion, right? Other people would probably buy like a $24 million private jet. Who knows? Or maybe someone would just buy use $24 million to basically never work ever again in their life. People have different views on this. Feel free to give your thoughts if you stumble upon this. If you like the fact that he saved up money to go buy this diamond, or do you think this is like a stupid purchase thing? Because again, I don't necessarily agree with spending $24 million on a diamond that you stick into your head. But depending on his financial situation and how his finances are structured, there's technically nothing really wrong with doing something like this, right? It's like, someone making $50,000, $60,000, saving up some money to go buy a Rolex, right? Like, people have different wants, right? So what's important to you may not be important to someone else, and what is important to a lot of people might be seen as a waste of money or junk to other people, right? So this is more of a point of view perspective to like each their own kind of situation. Because again, financially speaking, if he did end up saving $24 million on a diamond that he viewed as important, and that it did not negatively affect them one way or the other, then there's nothing wrong with it. But that's a lot of money. By the way, if you need help with getting out of debt so that you can be in the financial position to actually save money to go splurge on something like this, so you have the freedom to go and do something like this at any income level, go check out 40inbox.com to learn how to get out of